Hey there, Outliers. Niiamah Ashong here, and thank you so much for letting us be a part of your journey here today. You're joining us on the Outliers Edge podcast, where we bring together incredible individuals who are finding different ways to keep up leveling the way that they show up when it comes to their impact, their income, and their identity. And I'm really excited for you to get to know these outliers here today. Why don't we get first start off with you, Larea? If you mind sharing with us a bit about you and the game you're currently playing.
All right, Larea Kwakye podcast. Not today. You can check it out on Spotify. I started a business about 5 years ago in honor of my grandmother, Ollie Mae Smith, called the OMS Foundation, where we do college prep, career advice, and we also do character building there. So we serve the youth between 18 and 22, also youth with disabilities. We coach with life skills, and that's what I have going on. That's what I do day to day.
Thanks for that work that you do, Larea. Like that's really awesome. I can't wait to like explore that a little bit more with you. Right? Awesome. Freeman, how about we get to know you? Share with us a bit about you and the game you're currently playing.
Yeah, so my name is Freeman Beals, and I feel like the game I'm playing is how do we make positivity louder than negativity in the world? It's sort of the kind of battle I've been fighting for a few years now. I started kind of a few podcasts around that. I've done some coaching around that, and just continue to create as much kind of positive content as I can with newsletters and social media posts and stuff like that. Currently exploring the world of um, positivity leadership coaching. So getting positivity and helping leaders become more positive with themselves, and then that can help ripple out into the team and all the amazing benefits that come with having a more positive, creative, and collaborative team.
Making me smile here, Freeman. I appreciate it. Thanks for bringing it in. You also wear my favorite color, which is yellow. You have books behind you, which is yellow, and so ultimately, it's a good vibe. Thanks for being here, Freeman. Anwyn, let's get to know you here. You mind sharing more about you and the game you're playing right now?
Okay, so I'm Anwyn Stekerhofs, and I am a relationships coach, and I came to that from a lived experience, and so I am doing a respect relationship program, and that is incorporating cooking into it because it's one passion that I have and my husband has too. And I have a podcast called Break the Mold with Anwyn, and it's all about stepping out of the box, not being confined to what we think as what should be normal. So everybody is welcome. It's about inclusivity and and just sharing that all of our experiences as being valid and important.
Well, I'm excited here to share to like dive into all of your experiences and to keep growing with each other here. Um, we had a fun way of starting out our conversation here, which was just being real from the very beginning. I'll just like to like keep that going, right? And so as we come in, I'll see how we play with it, but I want to start off with just like getting a chance to see from where you're headed now, right? So not where you've been, from where you're headed now. What's a belief that like you're feeling is like actually being really challenged right now that wants to level itself up in order for you to be able to play at your next level? Larea, you mind getting us started with that? And you can take some time to think about it, but
Sure. I mean, no, it's something I think about every day. And that's just about the next level. I think the challenging is, for me, the challenge is how do I expand? You know, when I say that, it's kind of hard to put your heart into somebody else, to put your vision. And I can talk about it, I can teach it. For somebody to grab it is another thing, I think. And I think that I'm very serious about the work I do. I take it. I think the next generation is where it's at. I think we are raising up and training the next leaders, and to do that, it's a delicate and it's a fragile thing, and I'm not saying I'm so perfect, so right, but I think that to be able to get people on your team who has that same drive and desire to help people is a challenge. Without that, because you cannot just, I mean, I know cloning is becoming a thing, but you can't just duplicate yourself at this point. It's hard to think about expanding because you as one person can only do so much. So that's my challenge, period.
Period. Thank you so much, Larea. Like, I get you. I feel you. I'm gonna want to play with this more. Yeah. How about you, Freeman? What would you say your challenge is?
Well, I'm glad you went first, Larea, because that gave me time to put together my thoughts more. So thank you for that. I think for me, the challenge, that I've probably been having for quite a while with it is when you're playing in the game of positivity and you're not necessarily solving a problem, but you're providing a solution. It's an interesting position to sit in from a marketing and a business standpoint and stuff like that. So I've always been having to put some of my effort, some of myself into something else, to whether that being to pay the bills or whatever, which means that I can't put all of me into the thing that I want to. It's interesting that you mentioned the yellow sweater, because there's a reason that I wear it, is because when I'm doing this work and when I'm spreading positivity, it feels like there's this light inside of me, and this is just the best way that I can articulate that outwards. So that's why I wear the yellow sweater. So that's my challenge, is how can I make this so I can put 100% of myself into it, and not have to keep parts of me out of it. Is certainly my biggest challenge right now. Yeah.
Thanks, you. I like we'll play with all this as this goes on, because I think this is the real conversation here, right? Anwyn, how about you? What's the challenges between you and your next level?
Yeah, so it's interesting when you talk about relationships, like people say, well, what makes you an expert? And that's the challenge that I have, is living that. And sometimes, our lives aren't perfect, like you were saying, Larea. And I think that's what it's about. It's about being real, being authentic, and admitting to that. And that's the hardest, isn't it? Like actually saying, well, this is not where I want to be, but having the having that tenacity to keep going, and resilience to be able to cope with whatever comes up, and keep going. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate each of you here. I think the way I like to take this here is for us to just take these three topics and explore as much as we can with it before the end of our time. Are y'all good with this?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So Larea, you brought up the first thing, the first challenge in here. I heard it in a couple different ways. I heard it as going, be like having being someone with a massive vision that also requires a lot of work to to get things done. And it's like, how do you bring more people on board to keep expanding and bringing that vision to life? Because you can't, even if you were cloned, that clone wouldn't have all your experiences still, and at least not the technology I've heard of, you know? Um, so it's really, I think it's really help us see that a little bit more. And this is like, there are so many outliers who are going through this. I talked to a lot of outliers who are solopreneurs, and they're trying to figure out how do I like expand beyond that. Other people who are like, there's just so much work to get done, and people can't do it like I do it. And like so while I say that, I'm very curious about like, what's your flavor of this challenge? Like,
So my podcast, Not Today, it is literally dealing with the daily entanglements of life, how to overcome the obstacles of the daily entanglements that we deal with that prevent us from progressing and moving forward. I did something crazy recently. I resigned from my job. And I did that because, and it was huge, right? I have 2 children, a husband, and a dog at home. All of them depend on me. But I did that because I said to myself, I can let this job take everything out of me where I don't have nothing to give to what I really want to do. Or I can let it go and use all my energy as fast as I can to put into what I really want to do and see what happens. Let God do the rest, right? I do not have the answer to that question. All I know is day by day, I'm overcoming every obstacle I possibly can, putting everything I possibly can into what I really love. And opportunities such as this keep opening up for me to say what I want. And people keep coming to me with the resources I need. That's all I have. And I feel like eventually I go to sleep and I wake up enough times, I'm going to wake up to my dream.
I really love that. Like, I feel called right now as you say this here. Like, this episode is going to go out probably about a month after we were recording it. So keep that in mind. But if there's any outlier who was listening right now that's like, hey, I would love to contribute to what Larea's building right here, right? She's putting all of her energy in it, and I see it, and I can put my energy into it in some way, shape, or form. What would be an ask? What would be a request that you would have? What is it that would most support you right now?
Subscribe. I mean, check it out. Go YouTube is Larea Kwakye. Look me up and just engage with the content. And I love this type of collaboration too. I think we can get so much from one another. So even if I'm just invited to share and be a part of something, that would be helpful too. I think again, as many times as you can say your vision and what you want the world to be, you can only change, you can only expect to see the change that you're willing to contribute to make. And as whatever you want to be, as much as you can say it and go do it, that is how you manifest it. That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I'm curious for you all here, like as you keep going in here and like growing beyond yourself, like how do you all manage your energy towards this? How do you manage like the components of building your vision out in a way, given that do any of y'all have teams? Let me just check in on this. Freeman, do you have a team that supports you? Like, okay, so I'm saying no.
Yeah.
Anwyn, how about you?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, so like I'm really curious about this. Like, how are you all managing your energies right now? What are some of the things you're doing to like help bring your vision to life? Freeman, let's start with you and then let's keep going.
Yeah, there's an interesting sort of theory that my brain latched onto a number of years ago when it came to this. I'm very much a giver at heart, and I know I have a lot of good friends that are givers and family members, and it can be beneficial but also detrimental to be a very aggressive giver because there's that saying, you can't pour from an empty glass, right? And I latched onto this quote a few years ago that has been a huge part of, I guess, contributing my energy, my growth, right? Is that a rising tide lifts all ships. So the better that I can be as a human being and what I'm doing, the more I can help others. And that's been such a driver to keep my own energy going, to go, okay, well, if I look after myself, my health, my diet, my relationships, stuff like that, that will enable me to, then there'll be more of me to give out and give to others. And that's been a super key component, I think, to anybody who's looking to push those limits and push those boundaries. Is like, you got to remember to look after you still, because that enables you to do more for others. And that's been my saving grace for a number of years. Yeah.
Can I ask you to repeat that quote one more time, Freeman? I couldn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a rising tide lifts all ships.
Got you.
Yeah. So essentially, as you elevate yourself, right, those around you will also elevate.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It caught my ear because I'm roll tide. But anyway.
I love it. And how about you? Like how do you navigate this?
Finding energy, is it
Yep.
what question? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I get inspiration from powerful people. And when you were speaking, Larea, I was just thinking of Martin Luther King's words, like people like that are just, and the Dalai Lama, you know, like incredible, and go through a lot of adversity, but they still see the good in other people. And that's where I'm inspired by, you know, like that doesn't matter what happens to you, you can change the story. You can make it anything you like. And that energizes me, you know, like, and being able to overcome things in all adversity. Yeah.
No, it's really funny. You bringing in this takes me to a day where I had a chance to spend time in a great entrepreneur's world. His name's Clinton Swain. He runs a business called Frontier Trainings, and he has a program where you get the 3 day retreat called Play to Win. And I had a chance to do it a couple times. And the last time I was playing a game, and he's awesome in the sense that like he creates a whole world, and like I say want to play, but like he actually plays. Like there's like books with rules and like all this stuff. Like Outliers, check them out if you ever get a chance to do that. It would be really great. I was playing this one game. I had my my Lord hat on. You know, I was dressed in like the proper robes, and I was leading the team to create success. And I had played it before, and I was like, we are gonna crush this. And I ended up in the second to last position, you know, and I was like, what happened? And I left that space recognizing that as a leader, especially a visionary leader, there were like some unique challenges along the way, and the real challenge became how do you help other people see the vision? And then not only just see the vision, but get them to like embrace the vision. And not just embrace the vision, but to get them to actually act on the vision. And not just act on the vision, but to get them to act on the vision without you moving their legs and their foot and their hands, like to get done. And in that game, I like what ended up happening was just that like I had some really brilliant people, but like we weren't able to. There was something that complicated things, and I found myself like people just kept coming to me for like, so what do we do now? I'm like, I'm trying my best to empower you to do this, and I'm missing it. I'm missing something major. It left me with a place of saying, next time I play this game, because it turns out that other people are playing this game from a totally different perspective. They came out, uh, they built out different. They knew what the rules were, and they had it all pre-printed, so they can do every little step along the way. While I was out there trying to make it happen in real time. I'm like, oh, I'll just build out a spreadsheet, and rather than asking me, you put in the numbers that you need to, and you can make things move on from there, right? So I say all this just to say, like, I get curious about what you all have done to help build systems to support you and build different like tools or different, maybe not even tools. Like this is how I thought about solving that, but like ways that you'd be able to look at it and say, oh, wait, I'm thinking about things through my one screen of how it could be. But it turns out that there are other players in this game and they're making up what they think is allowed or not. I'm like, you can write this beforehand, you know? So I'm curious about some things that you do that like go against the grain, but actually like help your vision come to light like more seamlessly. Anything that comes to mind for y'all?
Yeah, I'll dive in on that.
Please.
I spent a lot of time in my life in leadership positions, and I think I have a fair amount of background now in organizational behavior and stuff like that. I think one thing that gets missed when we talk about building vision, and Larea, this could potentially even help you as well with what you're doing, is we often try to do what you just said there, Niiamah, which is like, how do I impart my vision on all these people? How do I get them to understand, what I need and what I want to do? And we have this, desire to lead with an eye forward, right? A me thing. Here's my thoughts, right? But if you step back and go, okay, what is it that we were trying to build? And you get them into that collaborative approach of designing the vision of the community or the people involved. Now it's not just your vision, it's everyone's vision. And now when you step away, that team has built that vision and they're still going to keep driving it forward because they're not just driving your vision. Now they're driving their vision as well. And I think that type of leadership, that's where I really see change start to happen in teams. A lot more motivation, stuff like that starts to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, they're more likely to do it because they own it, because it's part of what they created.
Yeah, they were part of building it. Exactly.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with that. I have a small team, and I say, um, so again, the organization I built was in the legacy of my grandmother, that her love would live on through what we do. Education was a big part of her heart. So obviously, there were more people who felt like that than just me, and those people are on the team. I guess what I was saying to, because they, I believe they all have the vision, right? But the they're going to drive the vision. I think what I'm missing, or I wouldn't even say missing, because sometimes things just come in time. Some things come when it's ready to come. Okay. But the willing to the commitment and the buy-in, where you're all in, where I'm not calling you, because yeah, I can call them and say, hey, blah 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 blah, and I know they feel that, they move on it. But them calling me saying, hey, or just like you said, if we're all in that, what part of the vision do they not only come up with, but they execute? So anyway, all in time.
Hold on, 1 second. 1 second.
Is that
Go ahead. Freeman, you might have paused on our screen. So that's
I
one
think
thing.
he's frozen.
Yeah. The other thing here, Larea, is you ended that statement, but you didn't end it with the period. There was the anyway thing that came in here, and I like to play that out here, like outliers, like that I bring out, because I rec I recognize a lot of what we do is like it's just about how do we continue owning our power and owning what it is that that we believe in and see. So I'll leave it at that, but I want to keep playing in it. It feels like Freeman's coming in and out. So let me check in with you, Anwyn. Is there anything that's playing out for you based on anything that's been happening in this conversation so far?
Well, I feel like working with people or in a team is about really acknowledging those people and having gratitude, and really seeing what they bring to the table, and so that's like respecting them fully. And like we've just had 16 days of respect or activism, and that's like about equality and violence towards women and stuff like that. And so like that, to me, like that's actually a thing that they have in schools here in Australia. I don't know if anyone else has that. And yeah, like you were saying, Larea, it's really important that we get these young people to have that respect for each other and understand that. And then that means that working in a team can be a lot smoother, like you can contribute all equally. But yeah, getting it from that very early age, like it's so formative to how they are and how they'll become an adult,
Absolutely.
taking responsibility and all of that sort of thing.
Well, I appreciate you all here, Larea. There's some more of what you're saying that I want to keep like building off of. I'm hearing where Freeman's coming in, Anwyn's coming in. What I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna give us some space and like bring in something that Freeman brought in and just see how we all kind of like work with this here. Now, outliers, as we're doing this, like in this format here, the real thing here is I want y'all to see like this is it. Like we're going through the challenges that you're going through, right? And it's more than just like an affirmation that like to change the day. There's some components around like, so how do we bring this like from brass tacks? Like I'm in it. I'm excited. I'm taking care of my vision. I'm bringing people on board. I'm making the content. I'm in alignment with it all. And yet there's still unknowns that show up. So in this conversation, we're just going to explore it, not from the hypothetical, but I really appreciate you three here, like bringing in what's real for y'all, like and then exploring it and just kind of bouncing ideas, seeing where things go right here, because these are like, I don't know. I find for myself that when I'm in the thick of it, I actually end up like putting on more blinders, going to like one or two sources of truth, or going to like every source of like out there, not really knowing how to make it applicable for me. And so I'm grateful that we're talking through this here and just kind of sharing some of our thoughts here. None of them being like the end all be all, but at least giving us some space to see some new perspectives as to how we might be able to move forward with that. How's that? Is this feeling good for y'all?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. So Freeman, you brought in earlier, and you said something earlier, just so you know, that you ended up coming in through first, and I don't want to go back because I feel like there was a good energy in that moment. But you brought in something here around a challenge that you have, and I think that it's something that is pretty common for us here as outliers, right? So if I remember right, it was something along the lines of like you're playing the positivity game. And it's not a game that like most people come in and like see see it as like one of what they may call like the big four, like relationships and money and health and wealth, like whatever it is. I miss one of the four right there. But you're like, I'm playing positivity, so like how can I make that work for me in a business and be able to sustain my life off of this, because this is what I want to be doing. Am I getting that right? Is that where we are?
100%, man. Yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I've learned, I guess, the hard way, like of trying to steer away from that authentic space.
Mhm.
Just speaking truth, I spent a lot of time building sort of this positivity brand. And then I went into coaching and I was like, hey, like how do we market this? And I was working with a business coach at the time, and it all makes sense to me in my brain. But looking back, I'm like, oh, that maybe not the right choice. Anyways, we pivoted it to be more around stress, right? Because now it's more marketable, right? Okay, let's deal and manage with stress, which which is what I pivoted everything into. But then I lost the authentic voice that I have and that real deep passion that I have around it. Um, yeah, it was a blunder, but we live and learn, right? Um, so it's interesting to now come back in and go, okay, like this is actually what it needs to be authentic and be who I am. Um, and so it's been a bit of a restart, but I just look at it as it was a stumble, but there I learned some amazing things, and I get to step forward now with all that knowledge that I did gain. So
I'm curious as we have this part of the conversation, how many of y'all have been in that space? I like as you say it, like I'm just like, yeah,
Yeah.
like even with Outliers Edge, man, like every day I go back and I was like the person I was in 2020 when I was doing this. Like I really felt I was a leader. Like from 2017, 2018, 2019 hit my stride. 2020, the whole world went on lockdown. I said, I am here to show up, you know? And then something happened. And now I'm like, okay, like what like how do I get back to that element of like what
mhm.
felt like very authentic, very alive, very willing to like let let things just kind of unfold versus like right now where I'm like, all right, let me do the unfolding. Give it to me. I will unfold it however it needs to be. What's the steps that need to take place? So I just really feel you in that, and also like the element of like trying to walk away. I've asked myself many times. I'm like, I wish it wasn't Outliers Edge sometimes, because I'm like, I have to figure out this path, and I just want to like, why can't I just like sell sweaters? Everyone gets that. Everyone understands that. Very simple. I'm like, but I have to work with outliers. Why can't I work with a different? It's just there. So we're gonna get into a bit free, but I love if you just open up the conversation a bit about like, having to like walk away, coming back, being trying to leave what your like souls on this planet to do, and then like returning back to it. Anwyn, Larea, anything else you want to add to that?
Hmm.
I'll just say that, I totally agree. I think kind of even when you were talking, when we opened up and you were even talking about how we were doing, I think we're constantly reevaluating our place in space.
Mm.
I told my friend just today, I said, every day I think we wake up and we reintroduce ourselves because we learn something in a day. You can learn something every day that changes your thinking for the next day. So I feel like for the last 5 years, I've really been committed to this space. Like I'm really just launching out, trying the podcast world, the YouTube world. I mean, YouTube is really not a thing. I say I'm doing it because now I have I've made my plan and I'm like, I'm going on there and I'm doing this. But these are all, again, back to my adventurous word too. Like I'm stepping out to find out, but it's still a place and a space that I think we explore that it's constantly changing.
That's interesting to me. Larry, you brought up like the adventurous thing. Like when we were talking earlier, it made me think about culture. You said like, how do I get help other people get all in? And I wonder how many like adventurers you're bringing onto your team to play with you here, right? Whether it's like I'm going all in, or if it's like, all right, I'm ready to take the adventure. I don't need the steps laid out. I told you guys you answered the outlier call. There's a way I could have designed this where you got a pamphlet and all the questions beforehand and so on and so forth, but y'all wouldn't have been outliers in my mind. It would have just been a lot. Like the game would have just been too laid out for
Yeah.
like the actual conversation that we like. It wouldn't have created. Let me say this: y'all would have probably still been outliers, but we wouldn't have created a space for this. You know?
Oh yeah, no, and I was totally looking for it. I was like, now did he send the email? What are we talking about? What are we doing? And no.
Well, I promise you, I had no clue we would be having this conversation like this right now. This is the first. This is one of the first times I'm having this kind of a conversation, and I'm loving it. We'll see where it goes. Freeman, I think that like there's so much in what you're saying here that I want to just like keep speaking to it, and maybe you can just share with some of the things that you've tried, some of the things that have worked or didn't work for you. I know there are outliers out there that are like in this space that are like, I keep going to every other guru out there, and they tell me I need to have a big four, like one of these kind of businesses for it to be work. And the worst part, if I could just say, is that like from my perspective, stress and positivity are both like equally, like you can't put your hands on either one of them. But if someone's gonna come in and be like, no, 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 your amorphous thing is not gonna sell. This amorphous thing sells. I'm like, is that actually true?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's painful because I've done a lot of reading on marketing and so the psychology behind it. And the psychology tracked, right? Negative marketing has a higher impact than positive marketing, right? It's one of the reasons I do what I do, because I know that negativity is naturally louder than positivity. It's the way we're wired, right? So I understood that direction of it, but it flew in the face of one of my core values, which is, what we look and what we look for in the world is what we see more of, right? Again, that's psychology. It's how it works, is our brains can only filter in so much information. So if you're always looking for the negative, so if I'm always marketing the stress, then I'm actually now flying in the face of, I'm putting more negativity out there. Sure, it's more effective marketing, but it's in a complete opposite direction of my value that it needs to be. So I think what the outliers that are listening could maybe find some help in is one of the core things that I discovered in an amazing book that I suggest to everybody to read. It's called The Happiness Advantage by Sean Aker. And it's this concept and all the science and data behind the fact that we believe in society that the equation goes, I'll find success and then I'll be happy. But that's the opposite. And there's a ton of data that shows that it doesn't work that way. It's you have to find happiness, and that will lead you to being successful. And I think that's where I stepped off of that train for too long, and I went, I need to be successful. I need to land this many coaching clients, and I have to get this many speaking gigs. And once I have all these cool things, then I can be happy, and then things will be better. And it was like, and even knowing that information and starting my journey with that book and one of the core books that I read, I still fell into that trap. And so I think it's just a reminder, you have to constantly play this game of, I'm So I write this in my on my journal every night. Actually, the last line of my journal, it says, "I promise to choose happiness," because I have to remind myself daily that it's happiness first. Look for happiness first. Let success come afterwards. Period.
Period. Period. Yeah, y'all are like making things flow in my mind here, right? Because like I've only even more recently started telling people like Outliers Edge is a movement of belonging. You know, there's a layer of it. There's a business called Outliers Edge, and that one here gets into more like it tries to structure it more. You know,
Mm.
Larea, I love a couple different times you've like pointed to your plan. You're like, where's the plan? Where are all the steps? You know, knowing that it's still being made up and like and allowing for that. So there's something I hear from you, Freeman, that this like speaks into like it actually feels like the distinction that I picked up on probably about like a year ago, and it's like the difference between I'm going to do this to see if it works versus I'm going to do this until it works. And I feel that there's an element, Freeman, of like what you're saying, where you're like, this path of positivity is harder. That's why I care about it. And yes, it is actually harder. So now it might just also be because we have not found the tools to be able to make it work for it. Or I just have to do more work or get more partners or whatever it is. Because the cool thing about positivity and some of the things that we take on with in the light side of things is like people are on board, you
Mm.
know, and like I think it has a lot more room to be an umbrella, a tent, something like a mission, a charge that people can say like, oh, I'm on that. I'm gonna wear yellow today, you know, and much more than like stress awareness day. It's like it's a different feel to it. Like it takes the energy from it. So like and I'll go in conversations that like I like to what I'm loving here is like I know what I'm playing in, and now I'm just going to learn how do I apply all these things to make it work for what I actually want to build. Freeman, I
Right.
said all that stuff.
Oh,
Yeah, Anwyn, go ahead, please.
yeah. I like I know my work with NLP is that if we have an emotion and we bring it into our body, so physiology, we actually experience the emotion, and you in your body, you will remember that emotion and you experience more of it. And I have this really simple technique that I learned recently, and it's from a thought leader from over 100 years ago called Elizabeth Town, and it's called the happiness treatment. And all you do is get a pencil and you put a dot in the middle of the page, and you do it with purpose, and you say, and you think, oh no, it's called the joy treatment. And you think of joy every time you put the dot onto the page. So you do this 30 times with intention and purpose. And she says, bring it to a point. And her language is really interesting. And I'm hearing this woman who was, on the planet, 100 years ago, and this is what she recommends. And I have done it, and it takes like about 1.5 minutes. It's seriously very short, but it just changes my day. It's incredible. And so it's like what you were saying, Freeman, it's like where your focus goes, that's what you're going to get more of.
Well, y'all, I love where this is going. We're gonna I'm looking at the time, I'm like, wow, it really went by. And I think that look, I'm appreciative of each of you, right? Because today was actually a totally different type of conversation. I have not had this kind of conversation on the Outliers Edge like roundtables yet, right? And what I appreciate about it here was that it was four outliers who are all actively creating our game out in the world, talking about it as four people trying to create the game. You know, what I really appreciate about each of you is that you're willing. You went to a place of not having to have it all figured out, which is exactly where the outliers are, right? And I think that there's something in that space of like being in a place where it's like this is like there's a lot there. You like there's a like we're good. Our businesses are moving, the movements are growing, like we're taking action and we're in alignment. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here on this call. And we're still trying to figure out things that work for us. I think it was a really special conversation to be able to give outliers an opportunity to not have to be the only ones thinking about this in their heads, you know, and to see where we are from there. So what we're going to do now is that we're gonna wrap up our conversation, and we're going to do it in two stages. First, I'm going to talk to outliers. Outliers, oof, what a fun time here today. My ask is this: we grow this podcast through what we call the one person, one conversation at a time initiative. And where that lies is just that, like, yes, you can go ahead and share it with anyone you want on your platform, but similar to how this conversation just took place, it was like four people coming together for the first time and just sharing something that was like important to them. And my ask is that you find someone in your world right now who, where this conversation might be the exact thing that they need to hear. And I ask that you just share it with them. You share it with, like, with them, and let them know, like, I want to give you this gift of this conversation. And I honestly think that, like, yes, we might go out there and blast things around, but Freeman, almost to your point, like, we can go market the crap out of this thing, you know, but it may not have the same kind of impact as each person listening and then finding one person in their life and say, I see you, I see what you're up to, and this conversation is going to support you in it. So I ask your outliers is that you share this episode with intention to one person and join us in the one person, one conversation at a time initiative. All right. Feel free to share it beyond that, but like, please take the time to do that one. So Larea, Freeman, and Anwyn, we wrap up our conversation here by giving outliers a chance to get to know how they can continue down the journey with us. Right. And so as we do this here, what I would ask of you is to share your contact info or a way that you want people to continue down with you. And then also share an insight that you got from the conversation, if any. If you didn't get any insights, that's totally fine. Just say that. But what's something that you're walking away from this conversation with as well? All right. We'll go in opposite order of how we've done everything else. So, Anwyn, we'll start with you this time around.
Okay, so you can find me on awakeningswithanwyn.com. And I think what's really interesting about this conversation today, which you talked about, Niiamah, is that we are total strangers, and there's something, that a thread that joins us all together. And I think that we do want to make a difference in the world. You know, like we're passionate about what we do. And that's really heartwarming, you know, that there are people who care. So yeah, I feel it's, you know, touched my heart, to be in a space like this.
Thank you, Anwyn. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for bringing you to this conversation fully so we can make it what it is. I appreciate you. Freeman, how about you?
Wow, first off, yeah, and when I appreciate that comment, that was lovely. People can find me pretty much on most social media channels at Freeman Beals. Instagram, LinkedIn is where I'm most kind of active. Message me on there. I'm always open to chat with people who need it or just want to chit chat. Always down to shoot me a message. The biggest takeaway I think I got, it's kind of in line with what you said, Anwyn, but this was a very big reminder to myself that these kind of conversations really can and should happen a lot more, right? The four of us have never met before. We have no idea what each other's other values might be, ways of thinking, political views, all those things. Like, none of that mattered in this conversation because we just sat down with the intent of having a deep conversation and talking about, the things that we're struggling with and how we're going to get past those things, and just in a hope that it'll help the people on this call and the people listening, of course, as well. And it's just a reminder that to go out and have these types of conversations, sit down with somebody at a library, maybe even, or a coffee shop. And I love that question that we opened with, which is, like, how are you really? We always say good, but like, ask them again, how are you really, right? And you can have these kind of conversations with strangers. And I think as a society, we need to do that more.
Thank you, Freeman. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for sharing your thing, and thanks for living your own experience out in the world. So, and then Larea?
Yes, so you can reach me at admin at omsfoundation1933.org. Admin at omsfoundation1933.org. The podcast is spelled KNOT, like a knot, not today. You can follow and message, I think, on Spotify through that as well. I loved this conversation. I think that what both Anwyn and Freeman shared was spot on, that I never expected to come into a setting not knowing anyone. But Niiamah, the way you open it up, you welcomed us, and how authentic you opened it up, I think set the grounds and the platform to be able to um, speak freely and become friends instantly. So I totally enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for having me. Pleasure meeting everybody on here. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you all. And honestly, y'all are giving me feedback. Like again, I'm making this up as I go along, but as I think we all are. I think that's the part for me where, Freeman, I think you're talking about like being in alignment, like with the actual message. And I appreciate you all like growing up with us here. All right. Outliers, here goes for you. Until the next time we talk, remember this: be you on purpose. Journey on.